KSMO Radio, 1340 AM 95.7 is streaming on KSMOradio.com, KSMO Stream Facebook, and KSMO YouTube. It's Inter-County Tuesday. It also happens to be Election Day, but it's Inter-County Tuesday. That's
right.
much more important at the moment. And Heather has made her way in safely across the terrain, and we are glad that you are here.
Well, thank you.
A little cool this morning.
I'd like to say it was a beautiful drive over, but it was a cool drive over.
Okay, it was a cool drive, but it was still beautiful. The sun
It
was out.
was
There was no rain
beautiful,
coming down.
I guess.
It really wasn't windy. You didn't have any snow on the ground. Might have been a little frosty this morning, but no snow on the ground.
Stan's trying to make me see it as half full, not half empty.
Well, yeah, but as I mentioned before we came on the air last month, you were complaining about spring not being here. Now spring's here. Now you're complaining that summer's not here.
I know, because I'm ready for summer
Well,
now.
I guess you are. And you're ready for annual meeting and all that stuff. We're going to talk all about that.
Yeah.
And a lot about good stuff
Good
today.
stuff.
We got a lot of good stuff
Yeah.
today. We got one little bad thing, but that's one that just happens to be one.
Right. And it's not a surprise.
And it's
We've
not a
talked about
surprise. We've been telling you about it for the last 3
Yep.
months. So it's
Yep.
nothing new with it, but definitely still have to address it just a tad bit because now it's going to start showing up.
Right.
Now we're not just talking about it. It's going to be real.
Yeah. We want to just get it out of the way.
Sure, let's just do it.
Okay.
Let's just tell them about it.
We're going to get it out of the way.
Yes.
And if you've been listening or if you've been reading, you know April 1st, our rate increase went into effect. So it is now post April 1st, which means
It's real.
it's real. We did have a rate adjustment. Like Stan said, we've been talking about it for several months. It's not something we wanted to blindside our members with. We wanted to be transparent with it. We've had a lot of members reach out and ask about some energy efficiency tips. We've had several ask for home energy audits. You know, they're wanting to take a look at how can they use less so that they're less impacted by that rate increase. So those are services that we provide, and we can still do that. Just because the rate increase has already went into effect doesn't mean you can't still call and ask for an energy audit or someone
Absolutely.
to come out and give you those pointers. So,
And the
just-
reason you do it in April is so the effect isn't great.
right, because most people, their high bills are either in the winter or in the summer. You know, the heat or air makes a big impact
In
on
some
usage.
cases, both.
Some cases, both. Yeah, if you've got electric heat and air conditioning too, then it's possible you've got high
Get a
bills in
double
both.
whammy.
Yeah, that's rough. But spring and fall seem to be, you know, a more
Sure.
wise time to
Tepid.
do something.
Let's
like
use
that.
the word tepid. That's our word for today.
There we
Tepid.
go. Looky there. Educational today
Oh,
too.
I'm telling you what. Just listen in. You're going to hear all kinds of words today.
Yeah. But we did increase service availability. It went up from $1.49 a day to $1.54, so a 5-cent increase on your service availability. And then your kilowatt hour usage went up also just slightly, but still an increase. It went from 9.33 cents to 9.79 cents a kilowatt hour. So again, slight increase. Our average member, when we did the math, it's right at $7. I think it was like $7.02 or something a month. But that's an increase is an increase. And we realize times are tight and people are trying to stretch their dollars. So we wanted to make sure everyone knew well in advance to kind of anticipate and expect that roughly $7 increase a month on your bill.
You know, one thing that every time I've been reading the rural Missouri for a long time, but I mean, every time I look at it, I always look at the little grid that's down at the bottom where it talks about the total kilowatt hours sold and the temperature, average temperatures and things. And you know, lately, I know, and usually we have an increase in meters, so that's usually okay.
Right,
But
some
the
growth.
kilowatt hours have gone down that have been used. And I know we have a lot more energy efficient products today.
Right.
You know, a lot more LED bulbs, things of that nature versus fluorescent. And we've been seeing that gradual change go down. It's probably been about 2-3 years that you've seen it consistently go down. But I looked this past year, and the temperatures were virtually the same with less usage. And these are the kind of things where you're talking about people wanting to conserve energy. They're finding ways to do it, be it energy conservative appliances, or maybe something at home, maybe putting that little extra caulking on there, pull that old off and
Right.
put some new on, or just make sure you have insulation around the windows, or simple little things like that that will save you. It's not going to save you hundreds and thousands of dollars, but it sure will make a difference in your bill.
Right. And those little things do add up. We talk about that a lot. Seems like, especially right around Halloween time, we talk about phantom load.
Vampires.
Yeah. But those little things, they do add up. If you've got good caulking around your windows and weather stripping around your doors, and then the changes that they're making as old appliances go out when they're replacing them, the newer appliances are more efficient. So, you're decreasing the usage there. So these little things, they do start to add up.
Sure. Now, again, it's not going to change to where you go invest in the White House or anything like that, but substantial changes that you might make, especially if you're renovating a home. Mm-hmm. Some people do. They go in, they will change out their entire kitchen, and that they may be putting in energy efficient appliances.
Right.
So you may see a huge change
Yeah.
there, especially if you have old refrigerators and maybe not a very efficient stove or an oven or whatever it might be that you're using, and maybe you switch over to gas, and that's going to change things.
Right.
So a lot of different things that can happen can affect your bill. But do remember this: anything that you put into the plug,
If you plug it in,
it's going to make that meter spin, okay? Even if it's just a charger for your phone or your big freezer that's going to keep your deer meat cold, whatever it might be, it's going to make that meter spin. So just remember, the more efficient it can be, or the more efficient you are, the more your savings will be every month.
right. Yeah, good advice.
Well, every now and then I do something
Yeah.
okay.
Teach us new words, give good
I do.
advice. You're on a
Tepid's
roll.
not a new word. It's been around a long time, but it's one that's not used very often. I think I haven't heard that word probably in 2 years. Used to always, my mom always used the word tepid for bathwater. It's tepid. It's not hot. It's not cold. It's not warm. It's tepid. We're getting there, but we're not there yet. I remember that term as a little kid all the time.
Wow.
How's the water, Mom? Tepid. You're 5. You don't know what tepid means.
Well, it sounds like you did.
Well, I learned very quickly it wasn't hot, it wasn't cold.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even warm.
Wasn't lukewarm?
Yeah, it's kind of like lukewarm. It's an individual choice. If they always tell you about the frog being in a pot of boiling water. If you put it in there and it's boiling, it'll jump right out. If you put it in there when it's cold and you just keep warming
Slowly.
it up. You keep putting your hand in warmer water or cold water. When you get it warm, starts to feel warm pretty quick. Who knows? Who knows what the actual temperature tepid is? But anyway, very good. Somebody probably has a good idea what that actual temperature
Somebody
is.
probably does.
But
You're right.
I do not. All right. So anyway, the rate increase is in effect. So again, if you have any questions, again, what Heather says, reach out. There's no
Absolutely.
harm in doing that, and trying to find different ways to conserve energy. I will say that there are a lot more vampires, I think, now than power vampires than ever before. People don't really understand that, and I think, well, okay, you got a microwave. Microwave has a little clock on it all the time. Well, it might be a 220 microwave, but if you have it plugged in somewhere to get that little reading, it's using electricity. Your coffee maker got that clock on it too. You want to set that clock for your 7 o'clock coffee every morning. It's like clockwork. It's amazing, that word. And it won't make it tepid either. It should make it hot. Coffee should be hot.
Well, and some of those biggest, we talk about microwave and coffee pot, and then those do have the clocks on them. Phone chargers. But some of the biggest ones that continue to use, if you have a satellite dish and that DVR is on, that's using quite a bit, especially gaming consoles. So if you have teenagers in your home and they have gaming consoles, a lot of times those are left on because it's my understanding they run updates in the background
All
and
the
different
time.
stuff all the time.
Yep.
Those are some unplugging that phone charger when you're not using it. Yeah, there's a slow trickle charge there, but those gaming consoles, significant. That satellite dish, significant. Your TVs anymore, they have the instant on,
They're on.
they're on standby almost, not even just off.
They've got
but,
trickle charge. It's just a trickle charge to
yeah.
keep them going.
So those electronics, they do have.
But your
that
power
phantom
strips
load.
are on too. And if you have no need for a power strip, just say you have a lamp plugged in. Maybe you had 3 or 4 different uses for electric in your living room, and then all of a sudden they're gone, and you still have one lamp plugged into one power strip for one outlet. Well, that power strip's on 24/7, but I bet you that your lamp isn't. So, then just plug it right into your wall outlet, and you're going to save a little bit of money. You're not going to save a tremendous amount, but you'll save some because that power strip has to maintain electricity all the time.
Yeah.
Now, grant you, if that lamp is worth $50,000 and you have it on there as a surge protector, keep it on there.
Maybe you want to keep it on there. Yeah.
Yeah. If you got a $50,000 lamp, I'd really like to see it. I don't know what it would be looking like. Very good. So we'll talk back in October again about more power vampires, because there's a bunch of them out there. But in our world today, Heather, there's a lot of different things that are always constantly plugged in all the time. So, sometimes I call them power vampires, but there might be now power necessities.
Right. Well, and the convenience a lot of times of just leaving something plugged in as opposed to getting it unplugged and plugged in every time. I mean, those are just choices that you make in your own home, and sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
But just being aware of the fact that everything uses something.
Sure.
Kind of.
Your computer might go to sleep, so might your monitor, but your power didn't.
Right. And just knowing that what uses what, finding out those gaming consoles, if you've got some teenagers, make sure they're turning them off during the day. There's no sense in them being on. But
Right. And for people who stream a lot now, you do your DVR in the cloud, so it's not really on your TV anymore. But yeah, those big old DVRs that the cable companies use, they're suckers.
yeah,
Like
they
that
are.
suck the
They are.
electricity. You can hear it if you go by them. What is that sound?
If you hear it making a sound, you've probably got some actual problems.
You should probably call the company, right?
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Great. Okay.
See, look, we got the bad stuff
We're
out
about
of the way.
the bad stuff out of the way. Let's talk about the real good stuff.
'Kay.
How about some kids that have done excellent in their interview,
Yes.
and they're going to be heading for the big prize?
Yes. So youth tour, if you've ever listened to us talk about this, you probably are not surprised to hear me say youth tour is my favorite thing. It is. Our youth tour program, if you're not familiar, it's where every year we have an essay contest. We invite the kids to write an essay. Shocker. That's usually not something
Essay
they're
contest,
particularly thrilled about doing. But we had full participation this year. The kids wrote the essays. We asked them to write about something they'd love to learn. We had some really good essays. Not just, I want to get better at a sport, or I'd like to get better at schoolwork. I mean, these were very in-depth essays. You can tell they took some time. They put some thought into it. Had some kids write about their family history, and they'd like to learn a foreign language so they could visit maybe one day Germany, because that's where their family's from, and they'd like to learn more about the culture and their family history. And to me, they went beyond just, if I learned a foreign language,
words to do the essay.
I could maybe get a better job. No,
Yeah.
there was some thought that went into these, and there was a student that wrote about wanting to learn a certain musical instrument, but it wasn't just, I'd like to learn the guitar. It was, I'd like to learn it, and this is why. This is why it's important to me, and they were very personal. So,
How many of these do you get to actually read?
I read all of them that get turned in, just because I want
Not
to.
that it's your favorite thing.
Not that it's my favorite thing. I probably shouldn't say that. But some of the schools narrowed the essays down to the top 3. And so sometimes we get that question like, who picks? Does Intercounty get to pick who these top kids are? And do they play favoritism in that? That's something that we get asked sometimes. The essays are blind judged at the school. So there is a coordinator at the school that we get with and schedule the time to come in.
Like a counselor, English teacher, something
Right.
like that.
And those teachers are responsible for removing the names from those essays, and they number them. And then there's a panel of staff, teachers there at the school, and they judge those blindly. And then when they're turned back into that coordinator, then they're paired back up with their names. And then the school gives us the top 3. So we don't even know who has wrote an essay. We don't know who didn't make top 3. We just get the top 3. And some schools know that we just need that contact information so we can start letting them know about their interview. So they don't always send those essays in. But if they do send the essays in, that is something I like to read because it encourages me. You know, a lot of times youth today, they have, unfortunately, a bad rap for not being connected, not wanting to do more than what's required. But it's encouraging when you read these essays from these kids that do participate in this because they're smart kids.
There's a lot of smart kids out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do have
But they don't cause
drive.
any trouble, so that nobody hears about it.
Right. You know, this is an essay contest, and asking a 16, 17-year-old kid, hey, in your free time, you could write an essay. That's not the most thrilling thing that they hear.
That's not the most thrilling thing they could hear, but the thrilling thing that they could hear is you could go to D.C.
You could go to
or
DC.
Jeff City free if you write this essay.
And
you
that's-
are selected.
Right, and that's what these kids, so I'm going to read some names here in a minute, but these kids, they wrote the essay, they made top 3, and then the last Saturday in March, they came to Intercounty and they were interviewed. So think about trying to get them to write an essay, and then you tell them, hey, and if you make top 3, then you get to come do an interview. They're nervous. The majority of them, they're nervous. That's intimidating.
Sure.
And we have 3 volunteer judges that come in and they spend their morning with us and they have the kids go in one at a time. That's a concern from the students. There's been students like, I have to interview in front of everybody. No, you'll go in like true interview style. They go in one at a time, and all 3 students from the same school, they're asked the same question. That way judging is fair. And then how well they do in the interview determines if they'll be awarded that trip to DC or one of the trips to Jeff City. But all 3 of the kids that come in, they win something because our board is very generous. They want to make sure that these kids have the opportunity to learn about co-ops, to learn about how our government works, to learn about our nation's history, really. So they select one, or they allow the panel to select one student to go to DC from each of our 9 schools and 2 to go to Jeff City from each of the 9 schools. And that's huge. That's a big deal.
Absolutely. And we talk about it. It's not a lot of effort, but it is effort. You still have to, if you really want to write a good essay, there's effort because you have to think about it.
Right.
Then you start to put your ideas down on paper, and then you finalize it. So maybe a half hour, maybe an hour at most. But the really good essays are the ones that the kids, like you say, they put themselves in it.
Right.
And when they put themselves in it and let people know why or what they want to be doing and how they want to get there, you know, sometimes it's pretty intriguing, you know, in this world of technology that some people still remember how to do it the old way.
Right.
But they also know how to do it the new way. And that's the best scenario you can have because, boy, if you can't do it the old new way and that's all you know, you're just going to sit there and twiddle your thumbs. But if you're not doing it the old way, well, if this doesn't work, I can revert back to this. I know I can get it accomplished. Might take a little longer, but I can still get it done. Like I love the kids that want to take a second language, that want to learn, because anymore, Heather, you almost have to be bilingual or trilingual because it's not just the United States English anymore. It's United States with English and Spanish, and you've got a little bit of French in there now, and there's a lot of
a melting pot.
I mean, it is a melting pot. And then if you want to go to Europe, you better know a number of languages. Well, unless you have a tour guide that can do the interpretations for you, but you have so many different languages. Yes, some are related, but they're not the same.
Right.
But it's a great thing. I always think, if I wish in my life, if I had a chance to go back and do it again, I would have probably have learned a second language early on.
Yeah.
I tried to learn German later, and I could read it, and I could say it, and I could even understand certain things. I couldn't conjugate a sentence for my life.
Yeah.
Just couldn't do it. You know, it just didn't make sense the way it had the framework of it. Not that if I had stuck with it for 4 years, I probably could have figured it out. But, I had 1 year of it. And I didn't really grasp it, so I just kind of backed off.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Well,
We all live and learn.
Yeah. We've got a good slate of kids here that did more than just put words on a paper. They told a story, and that's why they made top 3. And then I will tell you a comment that our judges shared was the majority of these kids, they knew the answers. They prepared. They studied their study packet. They were prepared to answer the questions and answer them correctly. The difference in who kind of rose to the top had a lot to do with soft skills. Coming in, shaking their hands, introducing themselves, saying good morning.
Eye contact. Yeah.
As opposed to shuffling in, sitting in the seat, keeping their heads down, that nervous energy versus the confidence. And that really, the ones that rose to the top were ones that not only prepared, but were personable. I guess those soft skills really shone as compared to some of the others.
Well, you really need, because of today's technology, a lot of people fail to communicate. And the soft skills are communication.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that communication that people lose track, excuse me, handshake.
Right.
That tells people you're confident in yourself. But also eye contact, which says, I know what I'm talking about. And the way to say it, and maybe even in the terms they're using when they describe the answers may not be exactly what was in the book, but it may be their own terms that they're confident in using.
Right. And shows that they grasp what they've
understand
studied.
it,
They're
yes.
not just regurgitating word for word what was on the paper, but they understood it, and here's how
Sure.
they can explain it. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, you have kept everybody waiting.
I
with
know,
bated
I've been
breath.
like-
And so let's just go ahead and...
Yes. So if you know any of these kids, congratulate them because they all did a fantastic job.
Or any of their families either. because
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a
It's
pretty
a big
good. This is
deal.
a pretty good thing to get.
Yep. So I'm just going to go down the list here. From Licking, going to D.C., we have Carson Walker. The Jeff City trip winners are Noah Umfleet and Sadie Hutzel. From Houston, going to Washington, D.C. is Grayson McNeil. The Jeff City winners are Matthew Sawyer and Kernan Scott. From Kabul, going to D.C. is Josiah Weitzman. And then to Jeff City are Corbin Cruz and Alexis Donaldson. From Plato, going to D.C. is Noah Fletcher. And the Jeff City trip went to Cadence Murray. From Rolla, we have Valerie Lang winning the D.C. trip. And the 2 going to Jeff City are Maria Polsey and Lucas Barnes. From Summersville, the D.C. winner was Addison Woolsey. And Jeff City is Cadence Robinson. From Mountain Grove, we have Lily Gould going to D.C. And the Jeff City winners are Zoe Walker and Anya Lawton. From St. James, Ariella Tarvin is going to D.C. and Katie Carpenter won the Jeff City trip. And then from right here in Salem, we have McKenna Faulkner going to D.C. and the 2 Jeff City winners are Riley Rimster and Knox Smith.
Congratulations to
Yeah.
all of them. Yes, D.C., it's a fantastic trip, but that Jeff City trip, that is an excellent trip as well. And I really do hope that those kids show up for that too, because it really is a tremendous
It is.
opportunity for these people to see how our state government works. May not be the big stage, big D.C.,
Right.
a lot of walking, a lot of buildings.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So,
not as big in Jeff City, but still very interesting. And you get a chance to do things that most kids will never get a chance to do.
right. And so, especially if you recognize the name of one of the kids that won the Jeff City trip, please encourage them to follow through with this because what we see, unfortunately, a lot of times is they make top 3, they know they've won, they prepare for that DC trip, they're studying for it, they win Jeff City and they're a little bit down.
Yeah.
It feels like a
consolation
consolation
prize,
prize.
yeah.
But we've never had a student go to Jeff City and come back and be like, that was a waste of my time. This did nothing for me. We've never heard that.
Kicking, dragging, and screaming going on the bus.
Yeah, we've
Might
had
be
one.
different.
We had one. But But in all honesty, these kids, they rose to the top of their class and they deserve this trip. And it is a fantastic opportunity. And they're going to go, they're going to make connections. I know it sounds just real cheesy, like, oh, you're going to make friends. And they're like, you're so weird.
I got friends. I don't need to make more friends.
Yeah, but they do, and they make connections, and they learn about co-ops, and they get to go out and sit on the House floor and work through the process of a bill becoming a law. I get it. That probably doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun either, but it's very, it's immersive, and they learn just hands-on, and it's a great experience. And we tell these kids, you come back next year as seniors, you put either one of these trips down as something that you earned on your college applications, those scholarship applications, even job applications. That helps them stand out. And it does, whether they think it does or not, it builds their leadership skills. It builds those soft skills. It's going to make them a better person, really. I mean, more well-rounded, and just a good experience. So encourage them if you know one of the Jeff City winners, because fantastic opportunity. Kudos to them. They earned it, even if they feel a little bit deflated that they didn't win that DC trip.
And
they're going to have
that would be a normal
yeah.
feeling, sure.
You know.
But still, this trip will open their eyes to a lot of different things.
It will.
And when we start talking about, and as Heather mentioned, connections. By gosh, by golly, if you don't have connections later on in life, trust me, that's what really makes things happen. It may not be you may know something about environment or something like that nature, but in your job, if you need to do some kind of study on it and you don't know who to turn to, you might remember that one guy that was in my inter-county trip to Jeff City. He was really in the environment. Let me give him a call. Let me open up to him on Facebook or text him or whatever it might be, and see if he knows somebody
Right.
who can help me out in this. And especially when you're starting out in business or in a new job, if you have those connections, that can give you a little bump, as they like to say, bump you up a little bit higher and higher for more pay, better benefits, or whatever it might be. You need those connections. And don't be afraid to reach out to them, because those become your lifelong friends. They really do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yay.
I know.
So anyway, great. That's great stuff.
Yeah.
Congratulations to all the DC winners, as well as the Jeff City winners. There are no losers there at all. There really are no losers, even in writing the essay. Every one of those kids is a winner for at least attempting to try and win the trip. Yes, not everybody can be satisfied. It's a shame. That'd be a heck of a big plane.
The group already takes up pretty much the entire plane. Yeah.
Yeah, and Intercounty is just one of the co-ops that does this. They all do this, do they not?
Right. So there are co-ops across the state that participate. We're sending 9 kids to DC. We can send up to 18 to Jeff City if they all go. But there'll be around 110-ish from Missouri that go out to DC, and around the same number that go to Jeff City. And then the DC trip, this is organized even on a national level. So there are students from across the nation out there. Around 1,500 incoming seniors from across the nation all out in DC at the same time. They're bumping into kids their age from all over the place the whole week. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah. Well, again, congratulations to all those youngsters and their families. Should be, if nothing else, a great time, but also one heck of an educational experience.
Absolutely.
They should love it.
Yeah, they will.
And if they don't want to go, they can always call
There's
me.
a list. Yeah.
I will take their seat. Begrudgingly, of course.
That's very thoughtful of you.
I wouldn't want to take it from them, but if they're not going to go, why waste a ticket?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I know. All right. Well, okay. That was a real good thing. That's a real good thing.
Real good thing.
Another good thing that's going to be coming up is the annual meeting. So
Yes.
if you did get your Rural Missouri, there's a few little things in there about the nominating committee and how they nominate directors,
Right.
which is pretty cool.
Yes.
And we do have that vote coming up at the annual meeting. They always have a vote. Say, not that they just want to go see all you vote, but it's just so you get to choose your directors
You do. Yep. And that's one
for
of the-
every different one.
Yeah.
I mean, if you live in Central, you get to vote North and South.
Right. And that's one of the things that makes co-ops unique. We are member owned, and our members get to participate in that democratic process. You mentioned today was election day.
Well, it is electric day too.
It is election day. But at the co-op, our members, they are our owners, and they get to vote on their directors. And as you mentioned, we do have 3 districts. The co-op split up north, central, and south, and we have a group of 9 board members, 3 from each district, and they serve a 3-year term, and 1 from each district is up for re-election every year. And our members get to decide. We have a nominating committee that's made up of members, and they have access to information from anybody that's expressed interest in being on the board. They interview those nominees, if you will, and then they decide which names can be put on the ballot. We do have some bylaws that you've got to meet
qualify.
these specifications, but they put names forward to be on the ballot. Members, if they would rather, they can petition to have their name on the ballot as well. And then at annual meeting, our members get to decide. They get to vote for who represents them on the board of directors.
Right, and not just in your district. I think that's the unique thing. And so many people for years thought, well, I'm in the North District. I can only vote for the North District. Not true.
Right. We share short bios and do a Q&A with those director candidates and share those in the annual meeting edition of the Rural Missouri. And you get to, yes, you have 3 directors in your district that represent your district, but that slate of board members, those people as a whole, they represent the co-op. And so you get to vote for 1 in each district. You're absolutely right.
There you go. Very good. But that's not the only thing about the annual meeting. It's the vote.
Right.
That's not it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff that goes on at the annual meeting.
There is a lot of good stuff.
There's a lot of good stuff. And one of those is if you are a vendor,
Right.
you still have time to send in your little form and apply for an open slot at the Intercounty Electric annual meeting.
Yes.
It costs you nothing. Nothing. It's free. It's free. But they do fill up fast.
They do. As of last week, we did have a handful of spots still left. So if you know you want to be a craft vendor, as Stan said, there's not a cost associated with that. You can come and set up a booth for free. We do have limited space over there at the park, so we ask that you fill out one of those vendor applications or call our office and we'll get an application kind of filled out in your name and get some information from you. That way we can get you on the list. We know when we're maxed out on space. We typically have a waiting list just because we have some really talented craft vendors.
Got a lot of people
we do.
Very talented.
And
artists galore in our area.
Yep. And I say a lot of places, probably the majority of places where you go, there is a fee to have a booth space set up. And so Intercounty is kind of unique in that you can set up for free and there's not a cost associated with that. So we usually have a pretty good list of people that are ready to set up that day.
And you have a captured audience.
You've got a crowd, yeah.
You didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
All you got to do is have your stuff with you
Show
that
up.
morning and set up and be ready to go.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll be a perfect 74-degree day with partly cloudy skies. We want a little sun. We want a little clouds in cases.
Yeah. We put it in our order for that now.
Light breezes.
Scattered throughout the day.
Later on, people say, what are you worried about the wind for? This year, I'm worried about the wind. So
Yeah.
let's say light breezes. But more than likely, that 74 and light breezes with partly cloudy skies, this isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
All 3 of them won't. Maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And maybe none. But
Yeah.
we never know. But it's going to come up at the end of June. It's going to go back to normal this year.
I know. We can say last Friday in June.
yeah.
Last year threw us off.
That was crazy.
A little bit different.
A little bit messed everybody up, Heather. You guys shouldn't try that anymore.
I know. But
Probably
it is.
will in about 8 years to do it again, won't you?
Yeah. It's the last Friday in June. It's going to be Friday, June 27th. We're going to be at the Old City Park in Licking, so go ahead and kind of fill that in on your calendar. If you can join us that day, we would love
Sure.
to have you over at the park. Registration will open at 8. We're going to have stuff going on throughout the day like normal, have some entertainment. The Van Kirks are going to be playing. We're going to have our safety truck. We'll have one of the local fire departments. We'll have breakfast available to purchase, but then we'll provide lunch. Kids tent, member service tent. There's just a lot. The health tent will be there.
Right. Texas
So,
County will be there.
so there's a lot going on that day, but we're usually done just shortly after
Sure.
noon. Voting closes at 11:30, and after voting is closed, it's a lot easier to tally votes than it used to be. So used to those were all hand counted. So there were some years that when there were contested elections or proposed bylaw changes,
Took a while.
it took a while to count those. Those are electronic now, so a lot easier to get results a lot quicker.
So let's remind everybody that, I mean, we're not near the end of June yet, so we've got
Right.
a little time to prepare. But if you do plan on attending, like the Texas County little health fair there, and you want to get your blood drawn, remember you have to fast
That's
before you
right.
go there. And of course, you're not going to die because they have breakfast there waiting for you. So when you get finished giving your blood, and they can do the test. Obviously, they don't do the test right there, but they do take it away. But anyway, nonetheless, though, you can go get something to eat. So
Right.
you're not going to be famished by the time they get to the sack lunch that you're going to get. But still, it's an opportunity to get something done
Convenient. And
easy to
affordable,
do.
yeah.
And you're going to be there anyway. So
Right.
why not?
Right.
Why not take advantage? Why not get a snapshot of your health for free? I mean, that's a great thing,
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
Yeah. So we'll talk more about annual meeting in the next few months,
yeah,
but
we're not ready to do all that yet.
Yeah.
But we are talking about the crafters and the vendors because
Yes.
that will, well, that not necessarily will, but pretty sure it will top out
yeah.
pretty quick.
We ask for you to have your application for that by May 1st, which is quickly approaching, but we typically fill up before then.
Get it in now.
Yeah.
Get it in now.
Yep.
And there is a waiting list, so if somebody should cancel later on and they have an opening, you may get a call, even if you are put on the waiting list later on to attend, if you
Yeah.
still can. You may have, if you haven't
Yeah,
made
that's
plans
right.
to do something else. So, very good. So, crafters and vendors, check out rural Missouri. The form is in there, or as Heather mentioned, give Inter County a call. You have a number for that, don't you?
We do,
I
yeah.
thought, yeah.
So you
might.
can call toll free. It's 866-621-3679. And if you mention annual meeting craft application or craft vendors or any of those keywords, they're going to get you to Vanessa, and she's going to take care of you.
Or you can just ask for Vanessa.
Or you can ask for Vanessa.
It makes it easy.
Yep,
You know,
absolutely.
very good. All right, and it's hard to even think that we're talking about
I know.
annual meeting, but
I know.
it is right around the corner.
It
It'll
is,
be
yeah.
here before you know it. You know, Monday's a big day.
Monday is an
A
exciting
big day. It's
Yeah.
a big day. It used to be Lineman Appreciation Day, but it's not that anymore.
I know. Line Worker Appreciation Day. At Inter County, it's still Lineman Appreciation
It
Day.
is. It is.
But I guess politically correct, it's Line Worker Appreciation Day. And it's going to be Monday, the 14th. Missouri,
Usually we miss it when we have our interview because it's usually already passed.
right, because we meet the second Tuesday and
Yeah.
second Monday. I mean, it's odd that
Yeah.
this would come before. But yeah, Line Worker Appreciation Day, it's celebrated in Missouri the second Monday several years ago. The governor signed whatever they signed to say this is a
Proclamation.
special day, the proclamation,
Yeah.
and made the second Monday in April Lineman Appreciation Day.
And the thing is, after all these storms
Oh,
and
geez.
tornadoes and everything else, they have earned it.
Yeah, they so yeah,
And
that,
still
that all
earning it,
happened.
as I might
Yeah.
mention.
Last month, we had the tornadoes that went through Phelps County. Rolla especially was really hard hit. We had linemen that put in nearly 100
Untold,
hours
yeah.
over that storm period. And I'll tell you, these guys, I don't want to say they like storms. They thrive when there's stuff like this that happens because they just get that look about them. They know what to do. They know how to do it. They know what needs to be done, and they are determined, and they are out there, and they work together, and they get it done. And it's just amazing to see them do that. We had, this time the storms were in Rolla. And so
Right.
we had crews, our Mountain Grove and Kabul, Houston area guys, they're in Rolla working. That's not an area they're familiar with. But
Not at all.
the same would be true if it would have been in our South region. Our guys from Rolla, St. James area, they would be down there working
And have been in the past.
and have been in the past. And this time, these storms, we knew we were going to have multi-day outages. The damage was just too great to be able to just send a couple crews out and get it back on. So we did request mutual aid, and we had crews from 3 different co-ops come and help us. A total of 4 crews, so extra 16 guys with their trucks and equipment, and it really made a difference. And we're grateful to be a part of that co-op system because we're able to call on some of those sister co-ops
bet.
and they can come and help. We've got a crew, they headed back yesterday, so they were home last night, but last Thursday they headed down to the Boot Hill to KSMO Electric. They had some pretty extensive outages, and then all the rain, and
Well, they had a lot
I
of
think,
flooding down that way,
yeah, and I think the poor guys they spent 3-4 days just wet. Rain gear can only help so much. It eventually soaks through, and those poor guys, you talk about Lineman Appreciation Day. I appreciate my desk job. And
Well, do they have desk worker appreciation day?
I don't
Maybe
think
you
that's
should
a
put it-
thing, but
Why not? Why?
but
There are people that's very key.
know-
Their job at their desk is key.
but it's not the same. These guys,
No, I
I
know
do
it's not the
appreciate.
same.
I appreciate my desk job, but I know that they're out there working in these situations, and these
Worst
guys, I mean, they're just coming off our own outages and working nights and weekends, and a co-op down in the Boot Hill needs some help, and we have 8 guys that say, yeah, absolutely, I'll go. And they pack up and they leave their normal work schedule and
families.
their families and their weekend plans, and they go because a member is a member, whether they're at our co-op or a different co-op, and they're good at what they do, and they know they can get the power back on, and that's their drive. I mean, they just, like I said, I don't want to say they like it because I don't think that's accurate, but
I think they find it as a challenge
yeah,
because it's a different area. Hey, I don't know that area. Let's go.
yeah, let's go help. And
Yeah.
I think that speaks volumes about our crews, about our linemen, not just at Intercounty, but across the state, across the nation. These are good, hardworking people that, regardless of what the weather's like, here I am complaining, oh, I'm ready for summer. I'm done with spring. Can we have,
Well, we've
why
had our
is it
spring
chilly?
showers.
Yeah, and they're like, bring it. I got it. No, no matter what, if it's cold, if it's hot, if it's wet or dry, it doesn't matter. They're out there. They're working to get the power back on, and they deserve a
Right.
day of appreciation.
And we talked about the storms, and obviously we had some lightning last Friday. So,
Mm-hmm.
First off, they went up against the winds here, 2 weeks ago, and then
Mm-hmm.
we had some of that damage, and then we had thunderstorms and lightning crashing down around us. Plus, to get to some of these poles, to get to some of these areas where trees have laid on lines or whatever they
Mm-hmm.
are, they're going out on some pretty soft turf, I might add, with some
Yeah.
pretty big trucks
Yeah.
to try and get to these destinations to provide you with electricity. Not the easiest thing. The guys don't scamper up the poles like they used to all the time, but some cases they have to. They can't literally get a truck in there
Right.
because it's too soft. And, those trucks aren't small. Intercounty uses. They tend to sink
Yeah, they're
a little.
pretty big. They're a little
lot.
heavy.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is they adapt to whatever the situation is. And
Yeah.
that is so key to these guys. And then they love to talk about it. Just go talk to them about it or let them make a presentation at school. Because the stuff they talk about, not every
interesting.
single person will ever get a chance. May not want to get the chance. I don't care about that. But dealing with electricity, being up on that pole, feeling that pole move in the wind, and then you're still trying to do your job.
Yeah. In
Holy
the rain.
cow, or in the snow or in the
Yeah.
ice. And, that's why I always tip my cap to these guys. It makes no difference, as Heather was saying. They're not looking for individual glory. They're looking to get the job done right, to put my neighbor or your friend back on the grid, or get them back on some electricity, get them taken care of, or finding those people who need electricity now
Yeah.
and prioritizing them and making sure they get to them as quickly as possible. Again, a tip of my cap to them. They don't need to wait till Monday. I'll do it right now.
Yeah.
Line Worker Appreciation Day, it should probably be a month. It really should.
Well,
But
and
I mean, but
hopefully,
again, we all need to salute them. So if you see them, thank them.
yeah. And I do, speaking of thanks, I do want to just say North Central Electric, Platte Clay Electric, and Three Rivers, those were the crews that came down and helped us back in March. So huge thank you to those guys, to their leadership at their co-op that allowed
Sure.
them to leave.
Absolutely.
Thank you, our guys that just got back, that's been down at KSMO. KSMO took care of them while they were down there. So thank you to those guys. But I also want to say thank you to our members. And I'm going to share a little story. I know we're probably getting close.
Stories. No, we got time. I love good stories.
But so in March, we had the three different co-ops that sent crews. And as we're wrapping up work and they're getting ready to head back, everybody's kind of sharing. And these guys, 16 grown men, shared that Intercounty's members were some of the kindest, most patient, just nice people. And that's huge. Like, I know we serve great members, and we brag about our linemen, and I say, hey, we have some of the best members.
do.
And we do, but to hear other people come to our service area and say that about our people and about our communities, that's huge. They were treated with kindness. They saw the outpouring of the community assistance. Those guys would be rallying at the office there to pick up supplies and get ready to head out. People would pull in, tell them thank you. There was food dropped off, snacks, drinks, just an outpouring of community support. And that's a time when people are without power for days and days.
Yes, yeah.
And they could have been pulling in and shaking their finger and when are you going to get to my house and why are you here and why are you not in my driveway? That's not what they heard. They heard thank yous and they heard what do you need and saw stuff being dropped off and delivered. And that's big, guys.
It's huge. It's beyond big.
We do have.
It's better than tepid.
It is better than tepid. But, we talk a lot about our members. And a lot of times, when we wrap up with Operation Roundup and I talk about how many people are rounding up their bill, and I'm like, hey, that speaks volumes about our members because it shows that you guys have huge hearts and you want to genuinely help others. But you poured that out over our linemen and even with these non-local linemen that just came into the area, and they recognized it enough that they said it.
Sure.
It wasn't just like, oh, that was kind of nice. It was like, hey, this is unusual. These people are amazing. Your community is great. And so on behalf of those guys, huge thank you to our communities, to your patience, to your generosity, your willingness to stay out of the way. Sometimes I know that's hard. People do want to jump in and help, but the best thing you can do, call in, report it, let us get out there, let us take care of it. And that's how work gets done safely.
Sure.
So, our linemen are great, but our members are really great too.
Right. And we mentioned it might be Line Worker Appreciation Day, but again, you can't ever turn your back on the great job that they do. And in crisis times, we talk about the tornadoes, nothing you can do during a storm. Once the storm is done and it's nighttime, you can't see anything anyway, really can't do any kind of assessments. A lot of people are off the grid. The electric's out, don't really know what happened. Tornado goes through, maybe could have just been high winds, could have been straight line winds, you don't know. But until it can be assessed the next day, and then they really got to start putting together, okay, this is what we have on this side, this is what we have here, this is what we have over by the school, this is what we have down at Forum Drive,
Right.
or whatever it might be. And then they put their plan into action. It doesn't happen in 5 minutes. It takes some time to figure out how much more people they may need to come in, and then they request that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work that's done. And Heather, I can't even begin to explain to people that patience is a virtue, But in this case, it's not by choice. You have no electric.
Right.
But you have to wait. They
Right.
cannot do it overnight because they don't even know what's there until the next day. And then they have to talk to
Yeah.
everybody else who's going to assess damages
Right.
just to see what's out there. There's a lot of work that goes into prioritizing how quickly and how fast we can get to these areas and get them back on.
Right. And we actually had 3 crews that were out working when the tornadoes hit. They were in the path of the storm as the storm warnings are going off. We had people back in the office that were watching the weather. They knew where the crews were at, and they were told to stop what you're doing and seek shelter. And we had 3 members that opened their homes to our linemen. They let them ride out the storm in their basements with their families. And that's what I mean when I talk about our members are incredible. Like, you have a group of wet, tired, probably dirty, possibly smelly
Yeah, well, I'm sure
men
all of the above.
knock on your door and say, we were told to seek shelter. Can we sit in your basement?
Yeah.
And with open arms, these members, absolutely. What can I get you? And stay as long as you need.
Yeah.
That's big. That's our community. We had in the following days after that, we're out delivering food to the guys. It's hard to leave your work site, go into town, find something to eat, get back to your work site. That really interrupts your day. So we were able to deliver food to them at their work site. And we had numerous businesses that were like, no, this is on us. Or, hey, here's a discount. We appreciate what the guys are doing. Just that's the kind of stuff that these mutual aid crews, when they came in and they saw this, they're like, hey, your community's pretty dang great.
It's
Yeah.
a good feather in the cap.
It is, yeah.
But the neatest thing is again, these people don't do this for accolades. They don't do this to show off to their friends. They do this because this is their job. They're very good at their job. And without them, I'll tell you what, you have to be appreciative of what we have and how fast the intercounty and the other associated rural electric cooperatives really do address the issues at hand as quickly as possible. Yes, if you're on the very end of the line, you might be the last one back
Right.
on. Somebody's got to be at the end of the line, guys. And I know our radio station has been at the end of the intercounty line for years. And when the last one goes on, guess who it is? Us. It's us. But for the most part, and they'll let you know once they isolate the problem. A lot of times they'll say, hey, we should have you back on in an hour or 2 hours. We have to do this, this, and this first. Okay. You know, and that's another thing about intercounty. A lot of times they communicate with you if they know when they're going to be able to get you back on. They'll give you a phone call and say, hey, going to be about another hour, an hour and a half. If that, hopefully you got no plans. Well, we're without electric. We're not really going anywhere. But the idea is that communication.
Right.
That really always makes you feel good, like you're not forgotten. Everybody else is saying they're back on, and you're the lone puppy. Or you feel like the lone puppy. There's probably like 8 or 9 people still out, but somebody's got to be the last one. And so, sometimes when you're on the very end of those lines, especially if you're out in the back 40 and you put your new home out there, not as easy to get to. So please tip your cap to them on Line Worker Appreciation Day on Monday. You may not see any, but if you do, tell them happy Line Worker Appreciation Day.
Yeah.
Or Lineman Appreciation Day. That won't make any difference. But again, a big thank you goes out to them.
Absolutely.
And, one of the things that we talk about with our storms, we forget that there were just hurricanes down in Florida.
Yeah.
And crews were all down. I mean, all kinds of crews from all kinds of states were down there picking that all up. Guys, we all seem to forget that. If it comes out of the news, you forget about it. Those people down there were devastated, just like Rolla was devastated. It's not 2 weeks and you're done.
Yeah.
It might be 2 weeks for that crew and they're done, but another crew's coming in, and some of those areas that they're running lines through, you're not going to get me out there. They got little snapping games that are like 12 feet long.
Different things to worry
Oh my
about.
gosh,
Yeah.
yes. Anyway, but nonetheless, again, a Lineman Appreciation Week or Line Worker Appreciation Day, call it whatever you want. It's never enough to say thank you to them at any time. Summer, winter, I shouldn't say winter because Heather hates it,
I
but
don't like winter.
spring and fall. Okay, but they're out there doing a job.
are.
So remember, tip your cap to them.
Absolutely.
Very good stuff. All righty. What else do we want to talk a little bit about? We got an annual meeting in, got Line Worker Appreciation Day in, we got our kilowatt usage in, we've got a lot of stuff in. We've already talked about crafters and vendors. Talk about the nominating committee. I guess we should remind people to look for very soon about the annual meeting that'll be coming in your rural Missouri.
Yes.
Remember,
Yep.
all your voting materials, everything you're going to need, be in rural Missouri.
Yep. And
I mailed out to you in a separate little book, which I used to love those books, though. All
Yeah.
that information used to get in a book. It was really cool.
it was really cool. It was also
Very expensive.
very expensive. And we found a way to serve the same purpose and save our members lots of money.
I know,
So,
but I love that book, though. That
yeah.
was great.
But something to look for in your May issue. So your June, of course, that's annual meeting. That's going to be all your stuff. In May, we've got a little blurb about how to vote. Because we do have the additional way to vote this year. So you're going to get a ballot and a return envelope in your June magazine, just like you have the last several years. You can mark your vote for your directors and the proposed bylaw changes and then return it in that postage paid envelope. You can also vote in person. That's an option that's been around a long time.
Probably the easiest way to do it is if you do it in person,
Right.
if you have the chance to
if
get
you
there.
have the chance to be there. But something that we're going to add this year is voting on iPads in the offices the week of annual meeting. So that Monday through Thursday of annual meeting week, we will be able to register you in the office and take your vote. That way, if you're not able to join us, maybe you don't want to risk sending it in the mail, or maybe it's too late.
late.
It's too late at that point.
It's about too late now to send it in the mail.
Yeah, so you can come in any of our offices, Rolla, Licking, or Mountain Grove. You can vote in person. And then if you end up being able to join us that day, you can still participate in everything else. It'll just show that you're already registered to vote and you won't be able to vote in person that day.
Right.
But that is something after interpretation of our bylaws saying electronic voting was allowed. That's an option they're opening this year. And then remember, one of the proposed bylaw changes that you're able to vote on this year is to allow online voting in the future.
Right.
So whatever that might look like through Smart Hub, through a secure website, the details of that are not clear yet. But in order to even research it, we need to make sure our bylaws and our members say, yeah, that's something we can do.
Got to open the door to it first. That's how you got to
Yep.
do it. Well, one thing I meant to talk about, and I didn't talk about, is because we're now in Heather's second favorite season next to summer. Okay. But everybody's starting to get back outside now. Everybody's starting to get back outside, which means getting pools ready. You're going to be doing things down on going on the water with the boats, and you're going to be hiking and biking and doing all that good stuff. Grant, you love it, love it, love it. However, we do want to remind everybody, if you have a dock that has electric to it, if you have any kind of outdoor receptacle,
Yes.
to test it.
Right.
Don't just assume that it's all good.
Right.
It may be good. It may be great. It may be fantastic. Maybe it had no effect whatsoever. We had some pretty nasty rains, which I'm sure if you lived on a lake, you watched your dock float up
Yeah.
and up and up. It kept going up. Well, if you have an electric line that might be tied to that, that's not recoilable. There's another good word. You may have a problem. It may have gotten stretched. It may have gotten pulled. May have gotten tore.
Yeah.
And that electric, if you flip a switch maybe in your house or down by the lake, is going to get hot. And when it gets hot, you don't want to be in that water.
Right. Outdoor receptacles, you always need to just make sure, first of all, that they're the GFCIs, that they're
Yes.
rated for outdoor use. That's an additional safety measure. Really is probably the best way to describe that. It knows to trip off if there's water introduced. But like you mentioned, there's a lot of things that can cause wiring to go bad, can be pulled out. just the age of that sometimes, have those inspected.
Yep.
We want you to be safe. We want your families to be safe. We want your pets to be safe. Just make sure that those are inspected. Once you get the A-OK, then you can use it and not have to worry about it.
Yes, and always test those. Even if everything looks perfect, you can do a ground test to make sure that ground is working. Even if it is a GFCI, and you should be able to have that ground fault connection made. But if your ground wire got pulled or got swallowed by the earth or whatever might have happened, and it's not grounded anymore, or it got shorted out and it's not grounded anymore, it can still get hot. And over time, even as Heather mentioned, even age, those GFCIs outside do get weathered.
They do, absolutely.
And they get brittle and they start to crack. And when they crack, it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
So again, if you look and if you see a crack in yours, do not sit there and plug something into it. Not a good idea.
Yeah.
I would contact an electrician, or if you are a qualified electrician yourself and you know what you're doing, then you can change it out. But do change it out. Don't leave that for somebody who's not, who might be plugging in something. And especially, here's what I hate to see. Unfortunately, I see it all the time, that people don't use grounded wires. They like to put in those ungrounded old extension lines that they've had for a long time, and they plug them in, and the thing is, your GFCI won't work
if it's not grounded.
Yeah. So please keep that in mind, especially around pools or around any kind of water. But even if it's attached to your house and you have outdoor receptacles, hopefully you have a cover to them.
Right.
And if they are covered, it doesn't mean they're probably going to work. More than likely they will. But, we have lightning strikes, and occasionally lightning will hit a tree, and it will just shoot down and find the next electric it can. And that might just be your outlet. May not do a lot of damage. May not even have thrown your breaker. But it might be enough that if you plug something in, you want to make sure you're not standing in high, wet grass.
Yeah. It's just easier just to have them inspected.
There you go.
Yeah.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And I didn't. I had Heather say it. But that is just this time of year. And I know a lot of people are getting out there and doing stuff. And, I'm one of them, too. And I got a couple plugs that I need to get checked. And I checked them last year, and both of them worked good. They were looking pretty good. But it doesn't mean that was last year.
Good.
We had all these storms. We had all this rain. We had all this wind.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Who knows what happens? So you want to be very careful about that. All right, I think I'm done.
Okay.
Do you have anything else that you would like to talk about, except maybe round up, like you already kind of
ease
hinted
into
at?
it? Yeah. So just a reminder that we do have a program, Operation Roundup. It's our charitable foundation, and they meet once a month to consider applications. Today they're going over all the applications they received throughout the end of March. So a couple of things, if you want to participate, if you want to round your bill up, it's super easy. It is tax deductible at the end of the year, and it's an easy way to make a few cents each month really make an impact. Easy to sign up. Let us know. But also, if you're in a situation, or if you know of someone that's in a situation where they could use just a little bit of help, Roundup is designed to be a one-time assistance. It does not help with electric bills. There are a lot of other assistance organizations that can help with utilities. We also want to be very transparent that the money that's coming in from people rounding up their bills is not just being kept at the co-op. We're pumping that back out into the communities. So reach out if you need help. Maybe it's a vehicle payment, a mortgage, a rent, materials for a wheelchair ramp, or a furnace repair bill, or there's a number of things that people unfortunately struggle with, and that's where Roundup can really help. So reach out if you need help. We don't know if you don't tell us, and if you know of someone that needs help, you can request an application from us. We'll get it to you, and you can get it to them, or you can encourage them to call us and let us know, and we'll get an application to them.
Don't be afraid to ask. Please don't be afraid to ask.
Absolutely.
We all know that everybody gets a little bit behind the eight ball occasionally.
Yeah.
Not by choice.
Right.
Just happens. Bad things happen in threes is what you always hear. And a lot of times when the first tire blows, the second tire gets ready to blow, and you're just waiting for the third one to fall. But that may not be a tire, maybe something else. So, again, we want everybody to realize that Roundup, and it's not just for inter-county people. It could be for anybody in the inter-county area.
Right. So
If you're a City of Salem Electric customer.
right, if you're within our outermost boundaries, so imagine a map of intercounty.
Okay,
Even if you got that picture,
It's kind of wiggly
right?
over here on the right side.
It is. It's wiggly in a lot of places. But if you receive your power from a city utility within our outermost boundaries, you're still eligible. You're our people too. You're our communities. You live and work in our communities. Your family goes to school here. That to us is still staying local. So when we say the money stays local, it can be used for local families and organizations. That's within our outermost boundaries.
Very good.
Yep.
It is truly a gift in our communities from intercounty. It's a wonderful thing that just might be able to push you over that hump.
Yeah.
It could really make your Easter pretty cool. Hopefully the people that got looked at or being looked at right now are going to be able to make that Easter a real happy one.
Yeah.
But for you, make it a May Day. You have to get it in by April 30th, right?
Yep.
You have April 30th, correct? Okay.
Yep, that's
Get
a
it in by
Wednesday,
April
so-
30th. You can be considered in May for
For
an
assistance.
Operation Roundup
Yep.
assistance.
All right.
Oh, so many good things. So many good things.
Give us a call if you have any questions, something we talked about today, or maybe something we didn't that you still have questions on. You can always reach us toll free. It's 866-621-3679.
If you have to make a payment, though, and it's really clicking down to that last second,
Yeah.
there's a way of doing it with a credit card, with a phone call, and especially if you get to be like me and get real forgetful, and you're thinking like, oh, geez.
Yeah. So the automated payment line, it is 24/7, what Stan's referring to, and that's a different number. You'll enter your own payment information through that automated line, and that number is 855-940-3890.
We always remind people, though, if you have Smart Hub, you can pay right through Smart Hub.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can even do a guest payment, by the way, an intercounty thing if you really need to,
Yep.
online, but you have to fill out a lot of information there. But if it's already in your Smart Hub, it's already there. My
Yeah.
gosh, you can just go click,
Right.
pay now. It's done.
Easy.
Almost
As easy
painless.
as, yeah. Well,
I said almost.
yeah. It's easy, maybe not painless.
Yeah, well, it's painless at that moment. It's not painless at the end of the month or whatever.
Yeah.
But again, good idea to start out with the not so great news, because everything else from there really was
Yeah,
pretty good
it's
stuff.
been good.
We really always appreciate that. Now, your friends in Intercounty want to take the time to wish you a happy Easter.
Absolutely.
Are we going to be any closed any days like there, Good Friday or anything like
Nope.
that? Nope.
Nope.
Very good.
We're
Very
open.
good. Very
I think
good.
Memorial Day is
It's
the
the
next
next
day
one?
will be closed.
Until
yeah.
the 26th
Yeah,
of May.
26th of May. So we got a while.
All right, very good. Just sometimes people are closed on
Mm-hmm.
Good Friday, sometimes they're not. And so I just thought I'd ask while I have Heather here, because she is a wealth of knowledge and would know these intricate details
Sometimes.
most of the time. Very
Well,
good.
we'll be open on Good Friday.
We always want to thank our friends of Intercounty. They come over every second Tuesday of the month at 8:30. We do a nice chat with them, have some
Yeah.
fun with them, and all that kinds of good stuff, whether it be Heather or Tony or some other representative. We really do appreciate the input and information. And we don't always talk about every single service that's offered. Remember, Intercounty does have a number of different services offered, including business services. When we talk about Tony, usually that's when he
Right.
comes over and talks about his stuff.
Yeah.
That he can help you out with. But I always like to talk about the good things that Intercounty does. That's one of them. And so if you have any questions about that, please call them. Ask for Tony Floyd, and he can give you a description of the different services that
Yeah.
they have.
Absolutely.
And you might just find yourself saving some money.
It's always a good thing.
Always a good thing. Saving money, being cheap, I kind of go hand in hand. They really do work hand in hand pretty well. If you're cheap, you're going to save money.
Yeah. Well, and
But
if
at
the
the same
co-op can
time,
help you, we
but
want to help
getting
you.
the goal accomplished is still the end result. So again, and if you need to get that audit, don't hesitate. You know, so many people think, I'm going to call today, and then they forget, or they get busy, and then they forget to call, and then they hear us again a month later. Oh, I need to do that.
Yeah.
Just
do
call
it.
now.
Just do it.
just call right now and get that audit scheduled to come out and take a look-see.
Right. Give you some advice.
It costs you
Nothing.
nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, so many services that are free.
I know. That's good stuff.
It's great.
That's a
why I said
co-op.
cheap. That's me, baby. Get that stuff that's free. But we really do appreciate our friends in Intercounty. All the great work that they do. Again, Lineman Appreciation or Line Worker Appreciation Day is Monday. If you happen to know one, thank them.
Absolutely.
I mean, truly, if you've ever been out in a storm and you see that lineman up there on a pole doing that job, there is no way you'd get me there.
They'd still be out of power.
They'd
if it was
still be out.
much.
Yeah, you'd still be out of power. I mean, it's not, you may not get me up there on a sunny, light-winded day, much less
Yeah.
up there in a storm. But they do it in all types of weather, and these guys are amazing.
They are.
I can't. And the ladies too. I'm not trying to slight anybody, but those line workers are great people, and
Yeah.
really, I guess probably are the eyes of Intercounty. Most people see them out and about in the trucks and doing things, but there are so many parts of Intercounty.
A lot of moving parts.
Yeah, there is. There really is, and we don't even address probably a third of them. Yeah, in our conversation, but maybe we need to do that.
That might be something we
maybe
should
we
do.
need to have.
Talk about the different departments. I think
Yeah,
that's
maybe
a
we
good
need
idea.
to do that.
Touch
Yes,
on
I
a
think
different one.
we kind of just skip by them, and
Yeah.
we shouldn't, because they are key ingredients to how Intercounty works.
The whole team. Yep.
Absolutely. Very good. Heather, you have a fantastic
thank
rest
you.
of the day. A
You
safe
too.
trip back. It should be warmer now.
I know. I'm excited.
And we thank all of you for joining us right here on KSMO Radio.